My dear family, if I had to summarize today's gospel is about a leper who is healed and is told to not tell anyone, but to go to the priest and to offer sacrifice. If we read today's gospel carefully, if we read today's gospel with intention and with attention, there may be a couple of questions that we may ask ourselves. One question could be, why did Jesus warn the leper? And not only that, but warned the leper sternly, or in other words, severely. He warned him severely. What was the warning about? Second question that could come to mind could be, why did he order him to not tell anyone about this miracle? And third, why was he told to go to the priest? Wouldn't Jesus' healing be enough? The reason why Jesus warned the leper severely is because our Lord knows our hearts. He knew the leper's heart. He knew that the leper will focus more on the healing than in establishing a good relationship with God and with community first. Back then, a leper was quickly rejected from the community. We hear that in today's first reading. Back then, a leper was not allowed to be in a community. In fact, there were laws against lepers, against touching them or being near them. Once someone was pronounced to be a leper publicly, he was no longer welcomed in a community. Yet, Jesus reached out to the leper in today's gospel. Jesus knew the leper's struggles and reaches out. He knew that the leper will struggle with being accepted back into a community. He knew that he needed to follow the law of Moses so that he will be good with God and good with the community. Hence why Jesus warns him severely to not just run back to the community and start talking about it, but to first go to the priest and follow the law of Moses to be reconciled with God and reconciled with the community. And he warned him sternly, severely. Or in other words, he warned him seriously. The warning was serious. But the leper decides to go out and tell everyone. So why would then ask the leper to go to the priest? Why follow the law of Moses? The law of Moses required anyone who was healed by God to offer up penance, to sacrifice before a priest, so that the priest will declare the person healed publicly or cleansed. The reason for this was not just spiritual, it also had a practical reason. Jesus asked the leper to go to the priest also not just because of a spiritual reason, but a practical reason. Because the leper needed to be declared clean by a priest so that the community will accept him back to them. Jesus wanted the leper to establish a good relationship with community and with God, so that he will be able to live in harmony with everyone. And that could only happen through the fulfillment of the law of Moses, offering up penance, sacrifice. Yet the leper, like many of us, decided to not follow the law and go tell everyone. Lastly, Jesus tells the leper not to tell anyone about this miracle. And he does that because of a practical reason. It was because it will make Jesus' ministry difficult in that town. Just imagine if you hear that a miracle worker is coming to Lowell. And you can easily imagine huge masses of people coming to Lowell that will gather around this area, let's say St. Margaret's. blocking the doors, trying to get in so that they will touch the miracle worker and be healed. In fact, that is exactly what happened to Jesus' time. It is said in today's gospel at the end that the reports of his workings were spread broadly. And it says in today's gospel, it made it impossible for him to go into the town publicly. That is why Jesus tells the leper to not tell anyone. It was a practical reason, so that he's able to minister more. However, all of these context behind, what does it mean to us? How does that all relate to you? Many times we may also receive severe warnings from God. That could look like our conscience telling us to not do something, and yet we do it. Or it could look like our scriptures talking to us, reminding us about the truth of the gospel. Yet we may choose to reject it. We become sick with the sickness of sin, with the leprosy of sin. But Jesus dares to reach out, dares to heal us. He reaches out and heals our wounds of sin. But he tells us to go to the priest and offer up sacrifice. He tells us to confess the sin to a priest and offer penance. Like the leper, we sometimes we may focus more on the healing than in establishing a good relationship with God and then our community. We may reject to follow the law because it makes it difficult. Let us, my dear family, think about this. In today's gospel, Jesus himself, the Son of God made flesh, Jesus himself heals the leper. And we would have thought that that was enough because the Son of God healed someone. But it was not enough. He orders the leper to do something else. He says to him, "Go to a priest." And Jesus heals him. Yet, sometimes we may think that it's only a personal relationship with God that will save us. But in reality, it is not just you and God. It is you, God, community. My dear family, as we approach Lent, let us seek that healing touch of God that He wants us to experience. Let us approach Him with humility. Let us approach God by following the law for the sake of God, and not for our sake, but for the sake of God. He is ready to reach out to us and heal us, even when we feel rejected by Him and our community. He is ready to dare to heal us. He just wants us to approach Him through the law. My dear family, let us think during this Lent to offer up sacrifice, to offer up penance in the sacrament of confession.